You're in the Business Insurance Zone with me, Steve Savant, national insurance columnist and financial color commentator. And today on The Biz, we're talking all this week. Guaranteed term, guaranteed UL, guaranteed whole life. If you're into it being a termite or you love Dave Ramsey, this is the week for you.
When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Well, welcome everyone to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm Steve Savant, your host today, and we're broadcasting from Fountain Hills, Arizona, home of America's largest fountain, to a nationwide audience of big-time financial advisors. And with me today, the goddess of all that is the grid, the sister of spreadsheets. Please welcome Jessica Lopez.
Hello, everyone. Great to be here, Steve.
Great to have you back. Of course, if you missed our March Madness, it's still out there. You can catch it. And part of the show has a little bit of retread on that. We're reduxing that.
Yes.
But if you missed Jessica's total term conquering, I mean, we were all over the board on that.
Yeah.
That's a 72-page report. If you want it, www.brokersalliance.com/March Madness.
Great information.
It is great information, and it's great to have you back. And I always bow to your Excel spreadsheet experience and expertise.
Why, thank you, Steve.
We're talking about it today. You know, you can get this. We just talked about it. This is our term. You can order it. Go out to our site again, www.brokersalliance.com/March Madness, and just pick it up. Today, we're talking about term insurance. We're going to be doing it for a couple days because it's big, and it's a big part of our portfolio too. And we're still selling a ton. And I wanted to bring up a few things about it. Now, when we did our March Madness, we had people complain. Hey, I didn't see that carrier. I didn't see my special carrier. And
Right.
part of it is underwriting, because as you've pointed out many times, Jesse, they are #1 in super preferred. They're #1 in preferred plus.
Right.
But I can't get the underwriting. Talk a little bit about just the underwriting issue, because that's an issue for us.
It's a big issue, and that's really one of the key aspects that we all have to take a look at, and that's what we do here at Brokers Alliance. We not just only take a look at who's the most competitive rate class-wise, smoker rates, non-smoker rates, but when it comes down to the overall picture of your client's health, we're going to dig into it, and we're going to have some carriers that are bigger players than others.
Mm-hmm. Remember, one of the big things we look at is we're looking at the 5 non-rated categories.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that, I'm talking about super preferred, preferred plus, preferred non-smoker, standard plus, and standard. And all that is micromanaged on our CHEM 24 blood and urine exam, our APSs, our EKGs,
Right.
all that matters. So when I see a carrier always #1 on some of these grids, and I know I can't get the underwriting, I'm taking them off the spreadsheet. And I think that's a fair way to do it.
That's absolutely a fair way to do it.
Another issue is, every so often, and there's 1 or 2, what I would say, criminals out there. I guess it's not a crime. But to me, I have nothing to convert to. Not only is they don't have a product line to convert to, and I guess if you're a purist in term, that's okay. So if you're a die-in-the-wool purist termite,
Right.
That's okay. But remember, I've ran in my 30-year career, I've ran into too many people who say, you know what, I need the coverage. I can't pass a physical anymore. I need to convert my term in the window of the term.
It's so important to think about the long term for your clients, and that's a key element to finding out which product you're going to use, and we're going to touch on that today. On our website as well, you can find details to each and every carrier that we're talking about, and you can look at all of the conversion rules and give us a call if you have any questions.
And remember, that number is 1-800-290-7226, extension 147. Jesse, when I'm looking at this, some of the things we have talked about today, and I can't talk about them all, I'm so sorry, but we're going to touch on the big ones. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about, give me some of the big players to age to 90. Now, I know we're talking about term, right? But I just want to give everybody, this is conversions all the way out to age 90. I mean, we're getting into this whole field.
Right.
Conversions mostly stop at 7 to 75, but our issue dates, right? I just want to talk a little bit about that before we get into our cholesterol grid.
Absolutely, and we're looking again at products that are going to be guaranteed premium-wise, guaranteed for life in terms of death benefit. American General is going to be one that we're looking at. AXA, Equitable, Genworth, ING. We have a lot of the permanent products there, and of course John Hancock. These all issue to age 90.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge, and believe you me, right now, LIMRA just came out with a study last April, which I blogged on, that actually addressed this issue, that the highest part of increased production in 2011 is geriatrics.
Yeah.
So let me just say,
we're living longer these days.
We're living longer. We're selling into the 60s, 70s now, even on term. It's mind-boggling. Now, the second thing I want to bring up is cholesterol. Now, Jesse, you put together a to-die-for list. Everybody says, well, how do I know? Is it preferred plus, super preferred? What is it? What we've done is we've made a grid that actually constructs to this so that we can manage to it. So I can tell you right now, oh, you're not going to get this number. You're not going to get this category because you're outside it. But what we've done is, if you order, you can order from us. Just write me at thebiz@brokersalliance.com and I'll send it to you.
Absolutely.
Talk a little about some of the cholesterol companies that we think are players.
Well, when you're looking at cholesterol, we're not only just looking at the HDL ratio, but the max cholesterol. They go hand in hand. And what we've done is actually laid this out for you so that you can clearly see what's what. American General, best available, we're looking at an HDL ratio of 5.0. 260 for the cholesterol max, which is actually 205 with a ratio of 5.0. So we've done our homework here.
Wow, 260 is huge.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I mean, back in the day, that was standard or decline. I mean, we're getting ready. I mean, now it's 260 is fine.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now we're looking at Aviva 5.0, max of 220. A couple that stand out here would be Banner, ratio 4.5, and we're looking at 120 up to 300. And yeah, that's just nuts. But see, we have to really take a look and dig into who are going to be key players, because you can't just rely on spreadsheeting alone. You know, go into our website, you know, just going through to see who the cheapest rate is, it's just not going to work that way. We want to take a look at the big picture. We don't want you to waste your time, and we don't want your client to be frustrated. And
it's all on this grid, so don't ever worry about, hey, I have to figure all this out. It's already plotted out for you on a great spreadsheet. We've constructed it for your benefit so that it's pretty much a summary statement, and you'll never have to sit there and go, hey, I'm reading another medical brochure from another carrier.
Exactly.
I don't like that. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about some of the term. I mean, I'm looking at female 25, super preferred, $100,000 coverage, and the annual premium is less than the actual policy fee.
Wow.
I mean, I've lived to see the day. 30 years, I've been in it too long. Remember, you can contact me at thebiz@brokersalliance.com or just call me, 1-800-290-7226, extension 147. And don't forget to watch this show and all our shows at www.brokersalliance.com, right on our homepage. I'll be right back after the break.
You're listening to the insurance industry's #1 resource for products, planning ideas, carrier information, and interviews you can use. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Companies in our business are always touting service, products, and underwriting. And we do that too. But here's the difference. Now enter the world of the elite producer with a value package that cuts us out of the pack. A BD that approves social media marketing of non-FINRA products and doesn't take an override. With the best competition desk in the industry, and for our loyal producers, a true group health plan. No one offers that. Brokers Alliance does. Well, welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm with the goddess of the grids, the sister of spreadsheets, Jessica Lopez. We're walking through not only the product grids, but even the things that affect it, like we talked about last segment, cholesterol, and it's a big player.
Yes.
Now we're going to touch on some of the male and female. We're going to stay out of the smoker. We're saving that for tomorrow. And let's talk about it. Give me some of the players, Jesse, on male in the preferred and standard categories. Just mix it up. And remember, we're looking at 10, 15, 20, 30-year level term. But keep in mind, we do ART. Not that I want to get into it, or level 5. And we even have some carriers that go to 40. I'm just trying to get to what we can get to in the show.
Exactly. There's so much to cover.
Right.
And we just want to touch on some of the highlights here for you today.
Exactly.
Now, basically, just kind of giving you an example of $1 million in death benefit, male, age 25. Banner stands out, 10-year level term, 15-year term, American General. Comes up at the top. You're looking at $314 in annual premium at $1 million in coverage. 20-year term, Banner stands out, $425, and looking at the 30-year term, we have Prudential, $645, and that's all looking at the super preferred non-smoker rate classes. Just to kind of give you an example on, let's step up a couple of ages here. Let's go to 40 male, $1 million. Looking at the 10-year term, Banner again on top, $355 a year. 15-year term, Banner again, $435, and this is all super preferred non-smoker, $1 million. 20-year term, we're looking at Banner, and 30 Banner again at that age.
Hey, I think this should have been our sponsor.
I'm going to go ahead and give you some information here on females. Age 25, again, $1 million, preferred non-smoker. 10-year term, we're looking at Banner, $245. American General comes up at top, 15-year term, $284. AXA Equitable actually comes up at top. That is for the 20-year term, $355. Looking at the 20-year term, Another option there would be Protective, as well as the 30-year would be Banner Life.
Now, there's so many, and remember, sometimes, and I just want to bring this up, we're looking at the vast majority of carriers that actually own the term space. And even though that might only be about 25 to 30 carriers, they actually own 95% of the business in America.
Right.
So I don't really want to bring in some obscure guy because he won't even make the top 10 grid, so why even play?
Exactly.
And one of the big things about term that we're looking at right now, and I think it's a big issue, is it's always changing. I mean, 10 years ago, 15, or actually about the year 2000, Triple X, Triple E was all going to change our planet. It didn't really change our planet.
Right.
Okay, so premiums were supposed to go up. They actually didn't. They went down.
Right.
And we're still being very competitive. In fact, actually, if we go too much, if the competition gets too great in underwriting, we may have to actually make a minimum of like 150,000 instead of just 100,000 flat below. Talk a little bit about some of the other players that are on our grid. And remember, I just want to be sure, we're just touching on a few here. The whole grid is available at www.brokersalliance.com/March Madness.
The nice thing about it too is when you go to our website or when you pull off the grid, you have something in front of you ahead of time to kind of go by. When you run a quote on our website, you can actually take a look and say, sure, fine. You know, for example, here, if you plugged in a 40-year-old female, $1 million in term, 10-year, Banner, ING, MetLife are the top 3. Well, then you're going to want to drill into, okay, well, what is their cholesterol? What is their build? You can actually click on that quote, and it's going to pull up the information that you need so that you can make sure that your client fits into that category. Because if we're taking a look at one carrier who's a couple dollars more,
right,
but we know the underwriting is going to work, we're going to want to go that route. A couple more examples here. A 20-year term, Banner again, at female 40 years, and we have a 20-year term, MetLife, Protective. We're looking at $589 in premium there. Again, pretty competitive. And if there are multiple medical conditions that your client has, we can definitely help you out there and take a look at each particular case and make sure that we're getting you into the right rate class the first time.
Yeah, in fact, actually, I love it. If you are able to do a little bit of, spade work before we get into the actual case, and we can plug in cholesterol, blood pressure, and everything else, it will do an automatic knockout of carriers that don't play in this.
Yes.
So you won't be wasting your time saying, well, they were number 1 on the grid, but the underwriting was the issue.
Right.
And we can knock that out in the actual quote, which I think is amazing now.
It is, and there's always going to be surprises in underwriting, but we want to try to minimize those. The fewer surprises, the better. The better your client's going to feel about taking their policy.
And keep in mind, remember, this all becomes even more intense when we hit the fall. As we hit, those last 2 to 3 months, the underwriting becomes a lot more benevolent. But if you need to write your people now's the time to do it. And we're going to be having some great ideas this summer for summer sales ideas. You'll want to stay tuned for that. Now, when I'm thinking about a little older ages, people say, are we buying term at 60 or whatever? And we are.
Right.
So
absolutely.
talk a little bit about that.
All right, we're going to go ahead and just go over a couple options here for male, $60 million. 10-year term, Banner, ING, and Protective are at the top. You're looking at anywhere from $2,600. They're just pennies difference, not a big deal. 15-year term, AXA Equitable stands out, then Banner. And we're looking at premiums of $3,600 a year. Looking at the 15-year term, Nationwide is really the only option at this point in time for a 60-year-old. And 20-year term, AXA Equitable, Banner Life, we're looking at about $5,000 there, and 30-year term, you have Genworth and Transamerica. Yeah,
sometimes when you think the top 5 carriers could only be pennies apart or a couple $100 apart, I noticed that you think the grid, you think term is term, but then why is the first place and the 25th place a spread between 15 and 20% difference in premium?
Right.
I mean, that's just too much. I mean, I always want to say, who's making this happen? Who's making this work? Well, when we come back tomorrow, we're gonna be talking about the same term issues, but this time, smokers. Whether it's cigarettes, pipe, chew, Nicorette gum, and my favorite, chew. I guess I like that. Well, don't forget to watch this show and all our shows, of course, on our on-demand section at www.brokersalliance.com, right on our homepage. That's the Buzz on the Biz for today. You've been in the Business Insurance Zone with me, Steve Savant.
The Business Insurance Zone is produced by Brokers Resources Audio Video Online, the media division of the National Insurance Clearinghouse, the marketing arm of Brokers Alliance. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.